Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajeem. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Welcome back. In this video lecture, I will tell you about the mutation. What do you mean by the mutations? Basically, the word mutation is derived from the French word mutation, mean to say the process of changing. Why we use the term of this mutation in the biological manner? We use this term because the change in the genetic structures of the cell known as the mutation. In biological sense, understand? The change. What do you mean by genetic structure? The genetic structure is basically the chromosome, the DNA, and the genes. Understand? When the change take place, an alternation of the genes located on a chromosome become changes, then it is known as the mutation. The first disorder was the sickle cell anemia. That is caused by the mutations. The type of mutation may be take place in the genes, in the chromosome, in the DNA during their application and reproductive process. So, what do you mean by gene mutations? Genes mean the genes changing in the gene structure. And what do you say meant by the point mutation? As you know that the point mutation, and when a single base of the DNA become changed, when the single base of the DNA become changes, then this is known as the point mutation. Or a single nucleotide polymorphism, means to say single nucleotide single base pair of the genes located on the chromosome become changes, and a single base on the DNA become changes. Point mutation basically the single change in the DNA, single basis change in the DNA, known as point mutation. Point mutations basically drive into the base pair substitutions, base pair insertion and deletions, or frame shift mutation. Base pair substitutions basically the missense and nonsense. What do you mean the missense? Missense is the lethal and harmless missense mutation. Harmless missense mutation and the lethal missense mutation. Nonsense mutation. Two types basically the base pair substitution. It is a basically type of mutation. Types of mutation are a base pair mutation, insertion or deletion, or frame shift mutation. So two types of these base pair mutations are missense and nonsense. Missense have two types, that is lethal and harmless. Now the next one was the base pair insertion and deletions. You know that about the terms of the mutation, but this is simply a temporary change. But why you understand the terminologies of the mutagens? Basically mutagens mean to say a permanently change take place in the DNA genes. You know that mutations mean the change in the single base pair of the DNA. What do you sense by the mutagenesis? Change, permanently change, physical permanently change, permanent change. Okay, permanent change that take place in DNA gene known as mutagens. And these mutations basically caused by the X-ray, ultraviolet, and chemical mutagens. So the next one is that how this change place. And you know that the ultraviolet radiation, X-rays, ultraviolets, and the chemical mutagens, that are the environmental factors that causes the change in the DNA. Understand? That causes the change in the DNA. These are the environmental factors. For example, oxidizing agents and the benzopyridine and the mutations caused by the chemical. These are the agents that cause the change in the DNA. That may be the oxidizing agent, benzopyridine. These are the agents that cause the change in the DNA. The disease is caused by the gene mutation. Sometimes mutation is beneficial, but you know that sometimes mutation is harmful. For example, cystic fibrosis, sickle cell anemia. That is the point mutation. Means to say permanently change in the DNA of the change in the genes of the DNA. Permanently change in the base of the DNA or the genes of the DNA. So the cystic fibrosis, deletion means to say whenever single genes of the DNA or chromosome become be lost, okay? Whenever single base pair become lost, then this is known as the deletion. Point mutation, sickle cell, Tay-Sachs disease, color blindness, and tumor. So these are the pictorial representation that how DNA change. When a DNA replicated, so then as a result, when it is replicated, so the single base pair one changes, and as a result, the mutation takes place. Single base pair changes, so single genes of the chromosome may become changes. So that is the mutation. So the mutagenesis means that can bring about permanent alterations to the physical composition of the gene and the genes. Mean to say, mutation means the change in the single base of the DNA, but mutagenesis means the permanent alteration. Understand? Permanent alterations to the physical composition. Permanent alterations to the physical composition of the DNA genes. परमानेंट अल्टरनेशन हो रही है, ठीक है. यहाँ पे क्या हो रही है? परमानेंट अल्टरनेशन. So that's all about my topics. I hope you understand. If you have any query, any question, you may ask in the comment section.